Hey guys, welcome to this video on Jira tutorial from Edureka. I am Elton and in this video, I will teach you everything you need to know about how to use Jira. But before we get started, I want to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. You can also hit the bell icon to receive our regular updates. We also have a lot of training programs and certifications on our site. So if you are interested in them, do check out the links given in the description. So now I want you to sit back, relax, and let's see what we're going to learn today. Since Jira is a project management tool, the first thing we need to understand is what project management is and how Jira helps. And after that, we can see a few terminologies that are associated with Jira. This will help you communicate with your peers better. We will also see the various roles that are associated with Jira and how you can start working towards them. After that, we can then figure out what workflows are and how you can customize Jira to suit your business needs. And finally, we can get started with a hands-on session. So let us go ahead and learn what Jira is.
So you might be wondering, what is Jira, why do we use it, and how exactly does it help? So consider a software development project. The first thing you would do over here is identify a potential for a project and then plan the tasks that you would be doing. This is done in the planning phase. After this, we have the collaboration phase. This is where you talk to people and make sure that you are on the right track. The next phase is the execution phase. You have already built a plan and you have worked with your team. Now you can put the plan into action. The execution phase is where you actually work on the tasks that you have planned and you derive results from it. This is where you do your execution, your testing, and you make sure that you are developing the right product. Once you are done with your execution, you will then document it. The documentation not only helps you with the statutory requirements, but it can also help you with future reference. If you get stuck anywhere in the future, you can always refer to previous documents to see if your issue can be solved. Once you're done with the documentation phase, you can then head over to the verification phase. This is where you check if the built project meets the requirements. What this essentially does is helps you ensure that the product you have built is the right product and that it achieves all the objectives that you set out for. Now, Jira essentially understands these issues and it knows that these are the phases that which most software development projects go through. So what the company has done is built a software that accommodates all these phases and helps you manage them in an effective manner. Jira software is an extensible platform that can help you create projects, manage them, assign tasks, prioritize tasks, track progress, and much more. It can help you with anything starting from the tasks that you will have to do to the software bugs that have risen during the development. Now that we know what Jira is and why it is used, let us see a few terminologies that are commonly associated with it. Think of your favorite series. I bet that it is broken down into seasons and episodes. Now over here, the episodes are basically the content that you watch, and seasons are just the collections of these episodes. These seasons are released in parts so that it is easier for the production team to provide quality content for you. And these seasons are collectively put into a series, and the series represents what the entire concept is about. Now, Jira works in the same way. The first thing that you have over here is an epic. The epic is basically what the project is about. It consists of the problem statement, the objectives, the goals, the requirements, everything that is put together, and that is the epic. Now the epic is then broken down into stories. You can consider stories as the objectives. The stories is what you need to complete in order to achieve the epic. The stories are then broken down into tasks. These tasks are what you need to do in order to finish the stories. Now once you finish a few tasks, the story's progress will increase. And once you complete all the tasks in the story, you will have completed that story and that progress will be reflected in the epic. And once you finish all the stories, the epic's progress would be 100%. That is exactly how this concept works. Now that we have seen what the terminologies are, we can finally see the roles that are associated with Jira. If you learn Jira, what exactly are the roles that you will be put in, and what exactly are the responsibilities in that roles? This is something that we will cover over here. The first role that we will be seeing is the product owner. And the first point over here is that the product owner understands the product requirements. Now, if you consider objectives to be the targets, then the requirements are the cornerstones to the perceived path to them. This means that the requirements is something that you will need to finish in order to achieve the objective. And that brings us to the second point. The product owner identifies the objectives for the project. She will tell you what exactly is expected of the project and what exactly you will need to do. The third point over here is balancing stakeholder needs. Now, a stakeholder is anyone who is affected by the outcome of your project. What the product owner does is she communicates with the stakeholders and makes sure that their requirements have been met. And then the next point is maintaining product backlog. Now, product backlog is a concept that you can commonly find in the Agile project management. It consists of a prioritized list of functionality which a product should contain. What that exactly means is that a product backlog is a descending list of functions that is arranged according to priority, and you will need to complete each and every one of those so that you can consider your project to be successful. And the last point is that the product owner manages releases. Now, if you consider a company working on a project, then you will see that most projects have versions, right? Some versions make it to the consumer, some doesn't, and some versions are improvement upon the existing product. These are all called releases, and the product owner is in charge of managing these releases. The next role we have is the Scrum Master. And the first point you can see over here is that the Scrum Master is responsible for coordination. He essentially communicates with everyone and makes sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone is on the right track. This is essentially what a Scrum Master does. He is also the intermediary between the product owner and the dev team. Now, since the Scrum Master is the one who plans everything and makes sure that everyone is assigned the task, he will need to have a clear picture of what is expected and what is not. So any communication that happens between the product owner and dev team should pass through the Scrum Master so that he has a clear idea of what is meant to be. And like we talked earlier, we can see that he also helps in planning and breaking down work. Now, once the product owner gives him the set of requirements and objectives, the Scrum Master will then try to break down the work and plan how that can be accomplished. This is what a Scrum Master does, and it is one of the most important tasks that he does. You can also see that he manages backlog and ensures completion. The product owner will give the Scrum Master the list of backlogs, and what the Scrum Master does is he makes sure that he prioritizes the tasks properly and makes sure that everything is completed within the given time frame. Now, like we discussed earlier, the Scrum Master is the person who coordinates between people and makes sure that the communication between the product owner and the dev team is in place. So this obviously helps in transparency, right? He communicates with everyone and makes sure that everyone is on the right track. This is what we mean by improving or providing transparency. And the last role we will be seeing over here is the Scrum team. The Scrum team basically consists of software developers and quality assurance team. They take the plans, they break them down, and they make sure that everything is achieved within the given time frame. And that is what we have listed down over here. The Scrum team breaks down work into subtasks. While we say that they deal with planning, implementation, testing, etc., while we do say that they work on planning, implementation, testing, etc., they just follow the guidelines given to them and make sure that the execution goes on in the right way. They also ensure timely delivery while adhering to the quality guidelines. This means that the work that they do should be done within the given time frame, and the work that they do should also follow the quality guidelines. The product owner provides the quality guidelines and the Scrum Master develops them into well-defined quality standards. All that the Scrum team has to do is make sure that they follow those well-defined quality guidelines. Now, in the organizational structure, the Scrum team comes under the Scrum Master. So they will have to report to them and make sure that their progress is tracked by the Scrum Master. This is essentially what we mean by coordinating with the Scrum Master. We have now seen what Jira is, why it is used, the terminologies that are used in Jira, and the roles that you can expect to play if you are a Jira professional. Now, the last thing that we will need to see over here, and one of the most important concepts over here, is workflows. Now, the workflows, as I said before, is something that represents the business process. Now, if you remember, in the first slide of Introduction to Jira, we had mentioned about the phases that a project would go through. that is the planning phase, the coordinating phase, the execution phase, the documentation phase, and the verification phase. These are all the phases that you see in the business process, right? Now, workflows is a concept that deals with it. The formal definition of a Jira workflow is that it is a set of statuses and transitions that an issue moves through during its life cycle, and typically represents a process within your organization. This means that if you took those phases that we talked about before and you convert them into a flow chart, that would essentially be a workflow that your business would follow. What I want you to focus on is the statuses and transitions and represents a process within your organization. Now, the statuses can be anything. You can have any number of statuses, and it just depends on your business process and how exactly you go through your business. We will see how this workflow works in the next slide. So consider 4 columns. The first thing that you would do when you have a task in a project is that you would list it down, right? So let us call that the to-do column. Now, once you start working on something that is in the to-do column, you can no longer keep it over there, right? You will call them as something that is under progress. So let us call the second column as in progress. Now, once a work is in progress, you will execute it and you will make sure that it is working properly. And once you do that, you will start testing it. This is where the testing phase comes in. In the testing phase, you will make sure that everything is working as per desired and that nothing is out of place. And if your task passes the testing phase, then you can consider that task as done, right? You would have finished that task, and so let us name the last column as done. So let us take a few examples and see how it goes through these phases. Consider 2 tasks, task 1 and task 2. Now, once you start working on task 1, you will need to bring it under the in progress column. And once you finish working on that task, you will then start testing it. So bring it under the testing column. Now, if your task passes the testing phase, then you will consider that task to be done. Now, let us look at the second task. Once you start working on it, you will bring it under the in progress column. And once you finish working on it, you will bring it under the testing column and test whether it works right. But what happens if it doesn't pass the testing phase? Then you will have to work on it again, right? So then you will have to again bring it under the in progress column. So we can see over here that if a task needs some more work, you can always bring it back. And this is what makes Jira customizable. You can have any number of phases and your task can be put anywhere depending on its progress. And workflows are the concepts that help you do this. So now that we have seen almost all the theoretical concepts that are related to Jira, we can finally get started with a hands-on session. For a hands-on session, we thought it would be a good idea if we could show you how Jira works in a small project. And so we came up with an idea of a wish list where you can save and view the products that you like. So if you observe what I said just now, you would see that we would be creating a wish list where we can save products and view the products that we like. So if we break this down, you can see that the epic that we will be working on is a wish list. And the stories would be to create a wish list and then view a wish list. Because that is what I told you we'd be doing, right? So now these stories must have epics, right? So now if you remember the hierarchy, you know that it is epic, stories, and then tasks. So we need to assign tasks for each of these stories. So for the create wishlist story, we can keep the tasks as creating a wishlist button to add products to wishlist. You need a wishlist button to add products to a wishlist, right? And then you would need to create a wishlist database which has the records of the products that you have wishlisted. Now the second story is viewing wishlist. And for view wishlist, we can create a wishlist button to direct us to the wishlist page, and we can create a wishlist page to view the saved items. So now I want you to head over to the Atlassian website and log into your account. After that, it will ask you for your site name, and that is where we will start. Now in this page, you are supposed to provide a site name for your Jira environment. You can provide any name that you want, and as long as it's unique, it will be accepted. And once you finish with that, Jira will then ask you whether you are new to or experienced with Jira. If you have some experience with Jira, then you can go with experienced, but since this is a beginner video, I will say that we are new to Jira. After that, Jira wants to know whether our team is new to or experienced with agile methodologies. We will say that we are new to it and that we spend most of our time working on features. It will also ask us whether we have a tight or flexible schedule to finish our work. And over here, we will say that we have a flexible schedule. And once we come over here, we can start adding our project details. But if you see over here, our current template is in Kanban. We need to change this to Scrum. So let's click on Change Template and then click on Scrum. We can then select Use Template and then select a Team Managed Project because it is free. Now that we have changed our template to Scrum, we can finally start adding a project name. So let me call this Jira Project 1. And you can see that Jira provides a key for your project. This key can be edited, but I'll leave it as it is. This key can be used in the future to refer to your project. Now that we have finished this, let's click on Create Project. And over here, you can see that we have options to integrate Jira with other platforms, but we won't be doing this right now. And then we can start inviting our teammates. So let me add a few teammates over here. And now that we have added the details, let's click on Continue. And now that we have invited our teammates, they will get a mail saying that you have invited them. And if they click on that mail, they will be invited to your project. And now that Jira has loaded up, let us close all the dialog boxes. And now you can see that you are in the roadmap section of your Jira environment. Now the first thing you have to do over here is create an epic, right? So let's click on Create Epic, and you need to specify the epic name over here. And since we are working on a wish list, I will say wish list. And now you can see that our epic has been created. If you click on the epic, it will open the details section of your epic. You can scroll down over here and see a few more details that are related to this epic. And the first thing we'll have to do over here is create your stories, right? So let us click on Add a Child Issue button. And then you have the story options over here. You can also click on the drop-down menu and see that you have the options of creating tasks and bugs. For now, let's just stick to stories. So now what needs to be done? Now if you can see over here, the first story that we have is creating a wish list. So let's first create a wish list. And the second story is viewing the wish list. Now once you have created the stories, you can close this dialog box and you can head over to the backlog section. So now that you're in the backlog section, you can scroll down and you can see two issues. These are the stories that you just created. What you need to do now is drag and drop this into JP1 Sprint. And after you do that, you can click on Start Sprint. Now, a sprint is a fixed time period in a continuous development cycle where teams complete work from their product backlog. So over here, the first thing you can do is select a sprint name, and I am fine with whatever sprint name is given. The next thing you have is duration. We will just set this to 4 weeks, and you can set the start date if you need to, and you can select a sprint goal. Now over here, I will say that our sprint goal is for the wish list to be deployed in our website. And then you can click on Start, and it will create a sprint and take you to the board section. Now over here, like we discussed in workflows, we have the to-do column, the in progress column, and the done column. You can see that we have both the stories in the to-do column right now, and if you click on the stories, it will open up the details. And in the details section, you can click on Add a Child Issue, and you can raise a child issue over here. So this story is about creating a wish list, right? So let us see what are the tasks that we had put down under the Create Wishlist story. The first thing was to create a wishlist button to add products to wishlist. And you can click on Create, and that subtask will be there. And the second subtask was to create a wishlist database. And now that we have added our subtasks, we can close this dialog box and we can do the same thing for the second story, that is viewing our wishlist. Click on Add a Child Issue button. And then the first task over here was to create View Wishlist button to view saved items. And the second task over here was to create a wishlist page to view the saved items. So now that we have created our subtasks, we can click on them and you can see the details of each of these subtasks. If you see towards the right, you can see that you can assign it to someone. And if you click on it, you can get a drop-down list and you can select who you want to assign it to. You can set any labels if you want to over here, and you can see the sprint name, and also you can add a story point estimate. Now, story point estimates are a quantitative estimate of how much effort that you need to put to complete that task. And over here, let's just set it to 3. So now that we have finished this, let us close the dialog box and do the same thing for the second task, that is creating wishlist page. You can assign it to someone and we'll set the same story point estimate and then we'll close this. Now we can also do this for the entire story itself. If you click on the story, you can see on the right hand side that you have the same options and you can assign it over here too. You can set labels if you want, and you can also create story point estimates. Now, up till here, we have seen how to create epics, stories, tasks, and subtasks. We have seen how to assign tasks to people, add story point estimates, etc. So now let us see how to manage progress. So the first thing you can do is start working on something, and once you start working on it, it will be under the in progress column. And once you get it to the in progress column, you can go inside your story and you can set it as in progress over here. So now you can see the progress bar over here. You can see everything is in progress and it's 0% done. And if you click on done over here, you can see 50% done and the blue part is in progress. Let us also do this for the second story. You can go inside and click on in progress and done. Now you can see over here that we have 2 issues that are in progress. And if you complete any story wherein all the issues that are in the story is done, then you can see that it is 100% done over here, and you can bring it and you can slide it over to the done column. And you can do this for the second story. You can see both of the issues are done, and you can see over here that it is 100% done. And once you finish that, you can bring it under the done issue column and you can click on complete sprint. And once you click on complete sprint, you will have a dialog box over here wherein it says this sprint has 2 completed issues and that's all of them. So you can click on complete sprint and we'll be done. Now that we have seen how to manage and complete your sprint, let us see how you can customize your workflow. So head over to the board section and you can click on the options over here and you can click on manage workflow. You can now see this flowchart that represents your to-do, in progress, and done column. Now suppose I want to add another phase that is deployed. All you have to do is go over here and add another status called deployed. You can click on create deployed done status and then click on the add button. You can now see that the deployed phase has been added and you can click on update workflow and you can see over here the list of issue types that this workflow will be added to. If you don't want some issue types for this workflow, all you need to do is cancel them and then click on save. So now you can get a dialog box saying workflow has been updated. So you can close this workflow option and then head over to your projects. And if you navigate to the board section, you can see that the deployed phase has been added. You can also do this by clicking on the plus icon over here and adding individual statuses. So now that we have seen how to create workflows, we can now start exploring a few other options that are available. The first thing we are going to see is code. And in the code section, you can integrate Jira with other platforms like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. And if you go to releases, you can see that Jira has an in-house versioning platform. All you have to do is click on create version and you can name your version over here. You also have other project settings and you can click on the project settings option to access them. And one important feature over here is automation. Now in the automation section, Jira's no-code automation engine allows users to automate tasks and processes in just a few clicks. So if you scroll down over here, you can see a few rules that have been written down. You can see that you can close the epic when all stories are completed, And when an epic is completed, then you can close all the stories that are present inside them and much more. You can browse through these options and you can see whichever ones are applicable to you, and then you can use them to automate your tasks. You can also head over to the features section and you can enable a few features that have not already been here, like reports, for example, which can help you analyze and track your team's work progress. So that is it for the hands-on, guys. I hope you liked this video and learned everything that you wanted to. I want you to stay tuned because we have much more that is coming up in this subject. So until then, happy learning.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!